All right, let's get right into it. When you think about dealing with manipulation, you probably picture a big confrontation, right? A battle of wills. But what if the best way to win isn't to fight back harder? What if it's about changing the rules of the game so completely that they're left playing all by themselves? That's exactly the playbook we're breaking down today. Here's the core idea you have to get. Manipulators aren't powerful because they're brilliant strategists. They seem powerful because they know how you're going to react. They are banking on your predictability, your need to defend yourself, to explain your side of the story, to set the record straight. So our entire goal here is to pull the plug on that machine. You know, the common advice is always to confront them, explain yourself, assert your boundaries. But here's the trap. Every single one of those actions is a gift to them. It's engagement, it's energy, it's the data they need to keep going. The real strategy is something totally different. We're going to talk about how to starve them of what they need, reflect their own nonsense back at them, and then finally, just remove yourself from the board entirely. To pull this off, first, we have to understand what they're actually running on. And trust me, it's not what you think it is. Think of it like a bizarre little economy that lives inside their head. When they demand your engagement, what they're really after is your energy, your attention. That's their currency. And your emotion? Oh, that's the high-octane fuel that powers the whole operation. Every time you react, whether you're angry or sad or frustrated, it's confirmation to them that they matter, that they have influence. So the mission is simple. Cut off their entire supply chain. And that brings us to the core of this whole playbook, the strategy of absence. This is about making a conscious decision to become psychologically uninteresting and, even more importantly, completely unreadable. The key phrase here is strategic neutrality. And let me be really, really clear about this. This is not about being a doormat. This isn't weakness. It is an active, disciplined choice to stop broadcasting your internal state. You're deliberately withholding the emotional data they use to figure out how to push your buttons. You're essentially locking the door to your own mind and just not answering. So the first practical tactic for this is often called the gray rock method. But it goes deeper than just being boring. It's about becoming informationally useless to them. You don't give them anything to work with. No strong opinions, no complaints. You answer their questions, sure, but only with the bare facts. You strip out the story, the feeling, the color, and most importantly, you stop justifying yourself. You stop explaining why you're doing what you're doing. You just are. To them, it's like trying to get a grip on smoke. There's nothing there to hold on to. All right, now for a more advanced move. Let's call it the mirror of emptiness. This one is subtle, but man is it powerful. So, when they throw out some crazy accusation or try to spin up drama, what's your first instinct? To correct them, right? To jump in and defend yourself? Instead, you do nothing. If they say, "You always do this," you don't list all the times you didn't. You just let that statement hang in the air. You let it echo in the silence. And in that quiet, the only thing left for them to deal with is their own words. And here's why this works. So much of a manipulator's technique is about mirroring you, about syncing up with your emotional state to build a weird kind of rapport. But you can't mirror a blank wall. You can't sync with emptiness. When you give them zero emotional feedback, their entire social programming just crashes. It's deeply destabilizing for them because there's nothing to push against, nothing to hook into. Of course, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. The second you start doing any of this, there's one giant question that pops into everyone's head. What happens when they realize the game is changed and they push back hard? Yep, this one. It's the number one fear, isn't it? That by becoming a gray rock, you're just going to make them bring out a bulldozer. And honestly, yeah, they probably will try harder at first. But you have to completely reframe what that escalation actually means. See, we've all been taught to see someone getting louder or more aggressive as a show of power, a display of dominance. But in this dynamic, that's not what's happening at all. This is the key. That's the whole mind shift. Their escalation is a giant, flashing sign of their dependency on you for a reaction. It's a panic response. They're like an addict jonesing for a fix. The louder they get, the more you know they need something from you that you are no longer providing. It's proof that you have the control, not them. And here are the signals you can actually watch for. These are the cracks in their facade. You'll see them start repeating the same old arguments. Their tactics get clumsy, less subtle. They might suddenly try to play the victim, this sudden wave of sympathy for themselves. That's what we call tactical vulnerability. And of course, the big one, they'll accuse you of being cold or distant. Listen, that's not an observation. It's a move. It's a desperate bid to get you to re-engage and defend yourself. Do not take the bait. So, once you see these signs, once you've held the line and weathered that storm of escalation, you move into the final phase. This is all about making the change permanent. This is so, so important. Making some big dramatic speech like, "I'm done with you," that's just one last meal for them. It's more fuel. Real, lasting disengagement is quiet. It's boring. You just slowly, calmly, and undramatically cease to be available. So here's the how-to. You don't just ghost them out of the blue. You just fade out. You reply a little less frequently, your interactions get shorter, but you're not hostile about it. You just have less and less to say. You stop offering up details about your life. The whole goal is to be so consistently, calmly, boringly unavailable that the dynamic just dissolves on its own. Now, a quick heads up. As all that chaos finally starts to fade away, you might feel this weird sense of emptiness. You need to be prepared for that. Your nervous system literally got used to the constant drama, the highs and the lows. That quiet you're feeling, that isn't loss. That's your body withdrawing from a constant drip of adrenaline and cortisol. It's the very first stage of peace. And this brings us to the ultimate goal. What do you do with this new peace? How do you actually recalibrate yourself so you don't fall back into these kinds of patterns? The mistake so many people make is they try to become unreachable. They build these huge walls, they isolate themselves. But that's just a different kind of prison, right? The real goal isn't to be unreachable. It's to be unreadable. It's not about hiding from the world. It's about controlling what you broadcast so you can engage with the world on your terms by choice. And this is the real work. This is the internal stuff. It's about finally cutting the cord between your self-worth and how someone else is behaving. It's about building a little space between their action and your reaction. It's realizing that you don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries. You only owe yourself your own consistency. And it's about learning to enjoy the quiet, to let silence feel spacious and peaceful, not like something scary that needs to be filled. And really, at the end of the day, this is the final word. Winning isn't about them finally going away. The real victory is the moment you realize their opinion of you, good or bad, is just completely irrelevant. When you no longer need their approval or fear their criticism, that's when you're finally free. So it all comes down to this. By using these strategies, you make a fundamental shift from someone who reacts to someone who selects. You select where your energy goes. You select who gets access to your inner world. The old game is over because you've simply walked off the field. So the only question that's left is, what will you choose to build instead?